Aye, right, folks, welcome back. Okay, just a quick one here. Well, I say that a lot, don't I? And I'm likely to kick off here. But I'll try my best. I'll try and be as well behaved as I possibly can. This is a story in the record. It's by Liam Bryce. Now, I don't know if Liam's one of these woke creatures, but he may be. But let's read the headline. It says Scotland's rugby stars are slammed over not taking the knee before a Six Nations victory over England. Now, they recorded one of the greatest victories in Scottish rugby's history just the other day in beating England. And what the Daily Records is focusing in on is the fact that the majority of the team did not kneel down to Black Lives Matter. Now, they'll frame it in such a way as it's about racism. It's a gesture in racism. I'm afraid it's not. And that's what the majority of the players understand. They are against, of course they're against racism, but they'll not, the record and the woke people will not frame it that way. They'll say, no, you're for racism then. By not kneeling, you're for it. So they're just emotional children. What these guys are intelligent people who understand that the Black Lives movement is a political movement. It's actually a Marxist movement. Now, the Black Lives, if you study the people that run the Black Lives Matter, the people that are in charge of it, the tier one of the Black Lives movement tell you quite openly that they're Marxist trained activists. Right? And their focus is on black power. They will utilise emotional outrage, racial violence towards black people. Of course they will. Because they're a political unit. They're trained to do that. So, bravo the Scotland team. Bravo for independent thinking. My God, it's great to see. And I would say that there represents the worldwide view on the issue. I'm hoping that people that hear me, that hear others talking about it, will start to think, and I think they are. I believe they are now, because so many other silly things are happening. Their politicians are doing such silly, stupid things, like just quickly going on to our own politics here in Scotland. We've got a party run in Scotland. It's a nationalist party that's for Scottish independence, but at the moment we're still part of the UK. But that's their agenda, and people voted for them because they believe that they will treat the Scottish people right. But unfortunately, they, or the leadership cadre of this particular political unit, has become woke. And it's unbelievable to see what's actually happening to this party before our very eyes. All right? So, what is happening? Well, you've got the First Minister of the country taken to Twitter, not to complain about the Chinese Communist Party and the virus that has killed her countrymen, or women, but to talk about trans rights at a time of national crisis, right? When our old people are dying, there's chaos economically in the country. She goes on Twitter because she wants to talk about trans rights and how Scotland's your home. Now, there's something emotionally no right there. That's somebody who's, got a mental health issue. To be really honest with you, to be doing that, to feel that she had to do that, means that she's emotionally invested in that issue. Why? Why? Are you a trans? Do you know trans? What's wrong with you? Doesn't make any difference. Nobody's against trans rights. Nobody's against black people's rights. But you're emotionally so caught up in it that you had to go online, make a video about trans rights in the middle of the worst epidemic. I hate that word pandemic, they all use it, don't they? Epidemic in human history. Well, no, it's not really, that's an exaggeration. The Spanish flu was worse, it killed 50 million. And here's a interesting fact, I don't know if you know it, but why was it called the Spanish flu? Is it because it came from Spain? No. Because politicians got involved. right? They think it came from Kansas in America. And because thousands of troops were all billeted in aircraft hangars, because thousands of troops were all on trains, it came all the way across to Europe. Just like in airplanes to the world for China. And because the world was at war, that's why all the American troops were coming there. It hit all the British troops, and because they were all billeted together, everybody got it. And the Germans got it. And the authorities, the politicians, just like the politicians now says, oh, we can't let that one out. We can't let people know. We can't tell anybody. So they were just in fact as bad as the Chinese Communist Party, right? But the only people that mentioned it, and the only people that weren't in the war, was Spain. Spain wasn't in the war. So they put it in their newspapers. And so everybody says, it's a Spanish flu then. Just a wee history lesson there. But listen, I'm really concerned about Scotland right now. Truly, I was one of the, I was always for independence. To a degree I am. But at this time, you've got to think about what's actually happening here and in the world. Now, see all these people that are sitting in the house getting paid their wages? Where do you think the money's coming from? When you think about Scottish independence, when you think about anything now, you've got to take all this into consideration. You've got to be thinking straight. Now, millions upon millions of people are sitting in the house and they're getting a wage. Do you think there's a big giant, or there's hundreds of giant warehouses or aircraft hangars full of money, cash, down in England? There's money for Manchester, Liverpool, Leicester, Birmingham, Swindon, Bristol, Newcastle, Carlisle, whatever. And there's a big wad out for Scotland. No, they're just printing it. It's printing and printing and printing and printing. It's non-stop printing of cash. Money from nothing, out of thin air. Out of thin air, they're just creating cash and they're handing it out. Now, normally if a country does that, their currency is devalued because the GDP, the gross national product of the country, you're not earning that, so how can you be putting it out? So the other countries or get wise for it, and the International Monetary Fund, they all devalue your currency. But here's the problem, everybody's in the same boat, so the financial institutions have rigged the market, right? They've rigged the whole world. They're going, no, don't touch it, don't leave it as it is now, don't touch inflation, we can't do that. So it's a false, everything now is false. Right, all these countries would still be on their knees. If it wasn't for this furlough, we would be on our knees. This is the exact same. We're in the same situation as the 1930s depression. We should be right now having food riots in the country, right? But they know, they're aware the society's different, and it would happen. It kind of happened a wee bit in Italy just at the beginning of this crisis, at the beginning of the year. Southern Italy. It's quite a poor area, right? That region is quite poor, and they weren't getting any. Nobody had worked out this formula for, furloughing people, etc., etc. So nobody was getting any money. People started breaking into supermarkets. They were just going into supermarkets, filling their trolleys and leaving, and the police were getting chased because people needed the food. They're not going to starve while there's a supermarket open. Are you going to starve? Is your kids going to starve while Lidl's is full of grub? No. You're going to go up and get it. Or you're going to make sure you get it. If you get arrested, you get arrested. And as soon as you get back out, you're going to go and do it again. Because you need to live, don't you? You're not going to just die. Because, it's not going to happen. That's not why we are as a species, right? So they all know what will happen if they left it. It's not been taken into consideration when you now talk about independence. We're in this kind of fantasy world where we think everything's the same. We're in a really bad place right now. Scotland in particular, right? We are in a really bad place as far as money's concerned, right? People are no working, shops are shut, nobody's earning any money, folks. So for the government to be so irresponsible to try and link independence with getting back in power, and that's what they're trying to do. She in particular, or a certain cadre in that organisation, the SNP, are saying things like, well, if we get voted in, that means you're definitely wanting us to go for independence. It doesn't mean that. It means we just believe or the people of Scotland believe at that time that you will look after as the best. But sadly, folks, that doesn't look like it's going to happen. It doesn't look like it's the best this time. They're not thinking straight. There must be people in that organisation that go, no, hold on, this is the wrong time. We should not be going for independence until Scotland and the world has stabilised. You know? Remember, there's 300 billion at least being borrowed right now to pay for this. If we go independent, we have to pay half. So our new country will start off with 100, maybe 200 billion pound debt. What do we sell? Scottish whisky and totties, right? Got a garage at the end of the road and Quick Fit there and some supermarkets there and some corner shops. We don't have huge industries that can quickly recoup that. We don't have car industries, steel industries, shipbuilding industries. These, if we build ships, they're built for buttons, right? So, seriously, it was always a struggle. It would always have been a struggle. And maybe a struggle worthwhile struggle for the future. But right now, we would be worse off. We'd be handicapped by this epidemic. I hate the word pandemic. This epidemic that swept the world. And the consequences of that epidemic is all about the debt that's now incurred, right? Now, the only way that can be remedied is that if at the end of this in 2023, when the debt's 500 billion, that the worldwide banking organisations reset. And I think that's what may happen. But that would be the time, once that's clear, to go for independence. Once the world banking system says, and the world's economies and the world's countries come together, the UN, they say, we reset to 2019. So any debt level would go back to 2019. GDP, all the economic statistics would all be taken from 2019, and that's where we would start off with. And then that would be a sensible time. In my book, I might be talking a lot of shite, but in my book, that would be a sensible time for anybody to talk about a vote on independence, because then at least you've got a chance. And I kicked off on that rant because of that picture. Anyway, folks, if you like the content, hit the like button, share and subscribe, because that's all I've got to say about that. Peace out.
How dare you?